A few weeks ago, I was out in the woods again, like I always do. It's my escape from the chaos of city life. I'm a wildlife photographer, and I set up my camera by the lake. It was quiet, just me and the trees. But then it happened. I felt a chill, like the sun vanished. I looked around, but didn't see anything. I thought it was nothing, just my imagination. Yet something felt different. I kept returning to the same spot after that. Each time, things felt more off. I heard distant growls at night. I started to feel like someone or something was watching me. My friends thought I was paranoid when I told them. They laughed it off. I wished I was wrong, but I wasn't. One evening, I set up my gear when I noticed some strange shapes in the bushes. I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. I knelt down to look closer, and the shapes moved. My heart raced. I stood up, scanning the trees. It felt like something shifted in the air, as if I was being watched. I slowly backed away, not wanting to provoke whatever it was. As the days passed, shadows haunted my view. I swear I saw figures darting between the trees. One minute they were there, the next they were gone. I gave them names in my head. Maybe it was guilt from my busy city life, or maybe I really wasn't alone in those woods. One night, I stayed later than I should have. The sun dropped behind the hills, leaving me in darkness. I heard a rustling noise, something heavy. My pulse raced. I tried to stay still, listening, but the noise stopped. The woods were silent, too silent. I fought the urge to run. I grabbed my gear and sprinted towards my car. As I reached the edge of the woods, I paused and looked back. Nothing was there. But then I felt it again, that feeling of being watched. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. I could almost hear whispers, like someone was speaking. I thought, maybe it's all in my head? Then I heard a voice, clear and chilling. "Why are you still here?" it asked. I turned around. Nobody was there. My heart raced faster than ever. What did it mean? I took a step back, terrified. I didn't dare look around again. I stumbled back to my car, shaking. I fumbled with my keys. The woods felt alive, pushing against me. My mind was running wild. Had I crossed a line I shouldn't have? I drove away as fast as I could, the woods fading behind me. I still don't know what happened that night. I've thought about it every time I've tried to return. I can't shake the feeling that something is waiting for me out there, something I don't understand. The feeling of being watched still haunts me. I can't go back. Not yet. Maybe never. The next week, I tried to distract myself. I went back to shooting in the sea, but I couldn't shake the woods from my mind. Every shadow felt like a figure. Every rustle felt like a warning. I couldn't sleep at night, always thinking about that voice. So I decided to talk to some local hunters.
They always had stories about strange noises and things they couldn't explain. Maybe I wasn't alone in this. I headed to the diner where they gathered. When I walked in, the chatter quieted. The hunters looked at me, some with curiosity, others with skepticism. I ordered a coffee. Then I leaned in and asked about the woods. Ever see anything weird out there? One of them, a grizzled man with a scar across his cheek, leaned back. Weird's a mild word. You sure you want to hear? I nodded, feeling my stomach drop. He started with his tale. Years ago, I was tracking deer when night fell faster than I expected. I settled down, tried to wait it out. Then I heard something. It wasn't just the animals. A low growl echoed from the trees. I thought it was a bear at first. I was prepared. He stared at me, his gaze sharp. I shined my flashlight, and what I saw, it wasn't a bear. It had eyes, bright and reflective. Then it vanished before I could get a better look. The other hunters chimed in, sharing stories of things darting between trees and strange shadows. A woman whispered about a friend who went missing. He liked those woods too much, she said. We never found him. Each story fed my anxiety, but I felt compelled to stay. These encounters seemed eerily similar to what I experienced. As I was leaving, I overheard the scarred man telling a newcomer, "You shouldn't go back there alone. It knows you." What did he mean? My mind raced as I drove home. The stories played over and over in my head. I couldn't ignore the pull of the woods. the questions nagging at me. I had to find out what was happening. That night, I pulled out my camera gear. I felt a sense of purpose, like I needed to face whatever was there. This wasn't just about photography anymore. I grabbed my things and made my way to my car, knowing I was heading back to that place of fear. The woods stretched before me, dark and foreboding. As I entered, the air felt charged, like a storm was brewing. I parked and took a deep breath. There were no growls, no whispers, just an oppressive quiet that made my heart race. I set my camera up by the same lake. Something urged me to stay a little longer, but I felt out of place, vulnerable. I couldn't shake the feeling that the trees were watching me. Then I saw it, a flicker of movement, just at the edge of my view. I turned quickly, but nothing was there. My hands shook as I fumbled with the camera, anxiety tightening in my chest. Then I heard it, a low growl, right behind me, my breath caught in my throat, each heartbeat pounding in my ears. I felt it then, a cold breeze against my neck. I shouldn't have come back. I took a quick step forward, and that's when I realized I wasn't alone. I spun around, every nerve in my body screaming at me to run, but I couldn't. My feet were frozen in place, and my heart raced as I strained to listen. The growl echoed again, a menacing rumble that seemed to vibrate through the air.
Was it coming from the trees? I finally mustered the courage to look, and that's when I saw it. A pair of eyes stared back from between the trunks, glimmering like polished stones in the dim light. They were low to the ground, much too low for a bear. I squinted, hoping to make out what was there, but the shadow swallowed whatever it was. A rustle emerged from my right, snapping my attention away. I turned, camera raised, desperate to capture something, anything that could prove I wasn't losing my mind. Then it happened. The ground beneath my foot shifted. I stumbled, almost falling into the lake. The sound of water splashing made the eyes flicker away, vanishing into the darkness. Had I spooked it? Or was it just waiting for me to get comfortable? I steadied myself, breath heavy and quick. I had come here for answers, yet all I felt was dread. The hunter's warnings flooded my mind. It knows you. What did that mean? Determined, I focused the lens where I last saw the eyes. I shot a few frames, hoping to capture some piece of evidence. My hands shook, but I forced myself to keep my gaze steady. I had to find clarity among the fear. Then, in the stillness, I heard it again, a whisper. Not a growl this time, but a voice, soft and indistinct, like someone calling from far away. My heart raced as I turned toward the sound, but there was nothing, just darkness, stretching endlessly in every direction. I backed up slowly until my back hit a tree. I needed a moment to think. What was happening here? I had to find out the truth. I took a deep breath and called out, "Is someone there?" Silence greeted me, and then I heard it again, closer this time. "Help!" The voice was faint but clear, cutting through the tension like a knife. I felt sweat trickle down my back. Was I imagining it, or was someone truly in distress? I scanned the area frantically, but still nothing. I couldn't decide if I should stay or run. My instincts screamed for me to leave, but curiosity held me there. "Where are you?" I called again. The woods felt alive, each rustle amplifying my fear. This was no normal night. That's when I spotted movement across the lake. In the faint glow of my flashlight, I saw a figure crouched low, just beyond the waterline. My breath hitched. It was too far for me to see details, but the silhouette was unmistakably human. "Are you all right?" I shouted, my voice trembling. The figure froze, then stood slowly, turning to face me. I felt a cold grip tighten around my heart as the shadows twisted around it. I couldn't make out features, but the two glowing eyes that locked onto mine sent me on high alert. Then everything went dark. The lights of my camera flickered off as if they were snuffed out, plunging me into an oppressive blackness. I scrambled for my car, but it felt like I was moving through molasses, as if the woods were holding me back. And that's when I realized I had come back to face my fears, but now I was staring into the depths of something much more sinister. I wasn't just in the woods, I was being drawn into its darkness. I swung my flashlight in wild arcs, desperate to pierce through the dark. Panic clawed at my throat. Each time the beam cut through the shadows, every rustle and snap of a twig made my heart race. I needed to leave. I should have left when I first heard that voice. But then I recalled those eyes, and an unsettling thought settled in my mind. What if someone really was out there? What if they needed help? I had to know. Taking a hesitant step forward, I tested the ground beneath my feet. It felt solid enough, but my instincts still screamed at me to go back. I took a deep breath and called again. "Hello? Are you okay?" My voice trembled, barely breaking the icy atmosphere. For a moment, all I heard was the breeze whispering through the trees. Then, just as I started to turn back, I heard it again. Help! It was clearer now, more insistent. My skin prickled at the urgency in that voice. It sounded human, and that thought alone anchored me to the spot. I edged closer to the water's edge, trying to catch a glimpse of the figure I had seen moments before. The darkness felt deeper, heavier. Suddenly, my flashlight flickered back to life, the beam of light illuminating the expanse of the lake briefly. No sign of anyone crouching out there. Frustrated, I turned around, planning to retrace my steps to the car. That's when I heard it, a crunching sound behind me, like footsteps carefully navigating the dry leaves. My heart skipped. I wasn't alone anymore. "Who's there?" I shouted, adrenaline flooding my veins. My breath quickened as I fought to look in every direction at once. The noise stopped, leaving only the sound of my racing heartbeat in my ears. I strained to listen, but there was only silence. Then I caught a glimpse of something in the corner of my eye, movement just beyond the trees. It was fast, darting away before I could catch its true shape. I wasn't sure if it was the same creature I had noticed earlier, but the air grew heavier with an unease I couldn't shake. "I'm not playing games," I said, my voice firmer this time, betraying none of the fear coursing through me. "Show yourself." There was no reply, just the rustling of leaves as if my call disturbed something sleeping. I took a step back, scanning the tree line for any sign of movement. That pressure in my chest built again, the feeling of being hunted. And then I saw it, a shadow flitting between the trunks, almost too quick to register. My instincts screamed at me to run. I turned and sprinted toward my car, focusing solely on the path ahead. Before I reached the vehicle, I stumbled, arms wheeling to regain my balance. As I pulled myself up, my flashlight continued to flicker. I cursed under my breath, willing it to stay lit.
Desperate to escape, I threw open the car door, but my heart sank. Inside, something was waiting, a figure hunched in the passenger seat, its face hidden in the shadows. I froze, the panic that had propelled me now rooting me in place. The last glimmer of my flashlight illuminated a familiar piece of clothing, a worn moss-green jacket. Gripped by horror, I realized I had seen this figure before. It was just like the silhouette I saw crouching by the lake. "What do you want?" I choked out as icy fingers wrapped around my chest. Someone was here with me, and they weren't alone. I blinked, my heart pounding in my ears as I struggled to process what I was seeing. The figure shifted slightly, and a low, hollow voice broke the silence. "Help me." It wasn't the same pleading voice from before, but it chilled my blood nonetheless. "What do you mean?" I croaked, my feet anchored to the ground. The figure continued to sit there, motionless. Fear clawed at my throat, and I fought the urge to bolt out the door. "Who are you?" The figure slowly turned its head, but the shadows prevented me from seeing its face. My flashlight flickered once more, illuminating a glimmer of something metallic in its hand. A knife. I gasped, instinctively tightening my grip on the door. "I can't stay here," I muttered, heart racing as I debated whether to run or to stay. "You need to get out of my car." My pulse raced at the thought of confronting whatever lurked in the shadows. "Please," the figure pleaded, its voice gaining strength. "You don't understand. They are coming." "Who's coming?" I pressed, though I wasn't sure I wanted the answer. The air felt thick, almost oppressive. I caught movement in my peripheral vision, something shifting in the woods beyond the car. "Don't open the door," it hissed suddenly, its voice growing more frantic. "They'll take you too." My breath hitched as icy dread flooded my veins. I glanced at the trees, half expecting to see eyes watching me, waiting to strike. I took a step back from the door, and the figure's expression twisted in fear, hidden beneath the shadows. "I'm not afraid of you," I said, trying to sound confident, but my voice wavered. "Just tell me what's going on." "They come for the lost," it said, its voice dropping to a whisper. "And you are lost." Panic surged again as I processed the meaning of those words. I wanted to shout back, to demand answers, but all I could do was stare as the figure began to dissolve into shadows. My skin prickled, the air around me thickened. I felt like I was suffocating. Suddenly, the flashlight flickered and went dead. The car plunged into darkness. I fumbled, reaching for my phone, desperate to see anything, but my fingers fumbled around the seat, finding only the cold metal of the knife that the figure had dropped when it vanished. A low growl echoed from the woods, sending shivers down my spine. They were real. The shadows were alive, and something was lurking just outside my car, waiting. Then I heard it, a chorus of voices rising from the trees, a mixture of laughter and cries for help. I scrambled for the door handle, but my instincts screamed against it. Before I could think, a sharp rap against the glass made me jump. I turned, my heart pounding, breath stuck in my throat. Someone was at my window. "Help!" a voice shouted, a figure clawing at the glass. "Please, let me in!" It looked like a person, a woman, hair disheveled, eyes wild with fear. But as I looked closer, I noticed something was off. Her skin seemed pale and stretched, almost unnatural. And then I realized she wasn't just asking for help, she was begging for escape. The instinct to run wrestled with the pull of her scream. Behind her, I could see something shifting in the shadows, something vast and dark looming over the treetops. The moment stretched, frozen in terror. Before I could decide, I flung open the door, ready to confront whatever was waiting out there. But the darkness surged, and everything went black. I jolted awake, the car feeling tighter than before. My heart raced as I fumbled for my flashlight, the darkness all-consuming. The woman at the window, her scream still echoed in my mind. Where was she? I turned to look outside, expecting to see the shadows dancing between the trees, but there was nothing, just thick darkness swallowing the night, the smell of damp earth and decay filling the air. I hesitated, then grabbed the knife from the seat, its weight grounding me. "Hello?" I called, my voice barely breaking the silence. No response. The only sound was the rustling of leaves far off in the woods. I opened the door wider, stepping into the chill. "Are you out there?" The woods felt alive, thrumming with something sinister. I knew I should have gotten back in the car and driven away, but dread anchored me in place. I needed answers, just an explanation for the torment I was feeling. That's when I stepped on something soft. I looked down, and my heart plummeted. A tattered piece of clothing lay crumpled on the ground, faded denim, stained and ripped. This was real. Whoever the woman was, she had been here. I turned it over cautiously, and a small silver locket fell out, rolling and coming to a stop at my feet. I picked it up, heart pounding as I opened it. Inside, there was a picture of a Vil girl, maybe 6 or 7. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. Who was she? And why was this with the woman I had just seen? A loud snap echoed behind me. I spun around, my grip tightening on the knife. Something moved in the darkness. It was too large for an animal, too quiet for a person. "Leave," a voice hissed from the trees. I peered into the gloom, straining to see where the voice came from. It was then that I noticed shapes slinking between the shadows. 2 figures, faceless, but unmistakably human in form. "You shouldn't have done that,"
Another voice shouted, deep and menacing. "Now you'll pay." Panic surged, and I stumbled backward, retreating to my car. I couldn't breathe. "What do you want?" I shouted. "I didn't do anything." "Too late," one of them said, a cruel chuckle spilling into the night. The figures moved closer, their outlines shifting like smoke. They were not just here. They were connected to the darkness. I dove into my car, slamming the door as the shadows closed in. The lock clicked, but I didn't trust it. I could hear the whispers now, an eerie chant crawling through my ears. My phone lit up, illuminating the inside of the car, the screen cracked and flashing warnings. No service, no connection. Then I heard it, a low growl vibrating against the metal frame of the car. They were outside, and I was trapped. Just as I felt the air thicken again, a loud bang rattled the car, sending adrenaline surging through me. Something was trying to get in. Whatever they were, they wanted me. But why? I knew one thing. I couldn't stay to find out. I had to escape. That's when I saw the figures fleeting into the darkness. With everything I had left, I turned the engine. But as the engine roared to life, the world outside shifted once more, and I realized I wasn't alone. I wasn't sure who else was in the car with me, but I was about to find out. My breath caught in my throat as the backseat shifted. I turned to look, heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. The shadows swirled, and I felt the temperature drop. A figure began to materialize, its form indistinct at first, like smoke gathering into shape. "Who are you?" I stammered, gripping the knife tighter. "Please, don't be afraid," a voice whispered, soft yet unnerving. It was definitely a woman's voice, but it reverberated with an echo as if many others were speaking through her. I squinted, trying to decipher what I was seeing. The woman who emerged wasn't the one from the window. It felt like a different world had opened behind her eyes. She flickered in and out of focus, the details of her face constantly shifting. "You need to listen to me," she said urgently. "They're coming." "Who?" I asked, my voice trembling. I could still hear the reverberating whisper from the woods. It was getting closer. "The ones after you," she said, shifting in and out of my sight. "The ones you disturbed. You took something that belonged to them." My mind raced. "The locket, the girl. What do you mean? I didn't mean to hurt anyone." "Your choice was made before you even arrived here," she said, her voice rising, thickened by desperation. "You're in their territory now. You've awakened something, and you need to leave before it's too late." I felt a wave of dread wash over me. "I can't just leave. They're out there. The shadows. They feed on your fear," she interrupted. "You need to be brave. You need to get the locket back to the child." "Back where?" I felt a knot tightening in my stomach. "What child?"
"The one in the photograph," she urged, her voice cracking with intensity. "If you don't, they will never let you go." The growling outside deepened and the dashboard lights flickered. Panic surged again. I had to act. "Where's the child?" I asked, desperate for any clue that might help me escape this nightmare. "Follow the path that leads into the woods. You'll find her home. But hurry," she said, her form flickering more violently. "They sense you already." I took a deep breath. Against all logic and reason, I believed her. I had to go with the heart-stopping instinct that had led me here. Whatever was lurking outside was a greater threat than the shadows, the shadow that this woman was becoming. Suddenly, the back window shattered, shards raining down like ice. I gasped, turning the knife toward the opening, poised to defend myself. Then, everything went dark. The interior was swallowed by shadows. I could no longer see the woman, the car, or even my own hands. Panic clawed at my throat. I needed to escape. I fumbled for the door handle, but the shadows pressed closer, forcing me deeper into a darkness that felt alive and breathing. And then I heard her voice again, faint but clear. "Find the child." But as the night swallowed me whole, I had no idea if I would even survive to follow her advice. I stumbled out of the car, the lingering darkness wrapping around me like a shroud. I blinked against the blackness, trying to regain my bearings, but all I could hear was the echo of my rapid breaths and the distant, unsettling growls from the woods. I knew I had to move, but every instinct screamed for me to stay hidden, to stay safe. I remembered her words, "Follow the path that leads into the woods." There was no time to wonder about the shadows or the woman. I needed to find the child, wherever she was. Assuming I would even be able to find the path was a giant leap of faith, but I couldn't see any other choice. Gritting my teeth, I took a tentative step into the woods. The ground was moist and uneven beneath my feet, each step sending a jolt of adrenaline through me. Trees loomed like silent giants, their branches reaching out like hands about to grab me. I barely breathed as I forced myself deeper into the thicket. As I navigated through the trees, I strained my ears for any sound that might guide me. Just then, a faint glimmer caught my eye. A silver-brief flash twinkled through the brush to my right. I turned, drawn toward it. Was it the locket, or perhaps something more? I stumbled closer, the light flickered again, and I pushed aside some branches. What I found made my blood run cold. It was a small, splintered piece of wood with carvings on it, intricate symbols twisting and writhing. It felt wrong somehow, a warning sign that I should turn back. But in that moment, the growling intensified. I spun around, heart racing faster than ever. I couldn't see what was making that sound, but I could sense it was close.
Fear gripped me, yet I forced myself not to run. I grabbed the piece of wood, shoving it into my pocket as a makeshift talisman, and dug deep for the courage to keep going. Suddenly, the darkness shifted. A figure darted past my peripheral vision, just beyond a cluster of trees. My pulse quickened. Was it the child, or was it something more sinister? I called out, "Hello? Is someone there?" My voice barely penetrated the oppressive air. For a moment, silence swallowed me whole. Then I heard a soft whisper, like the rustle of leaves, beckoning me deeper into the woods. Against my better judgment, I followed it, encouraged by a deep-seated hope that I'd finally find what I sought. But as I pushed through the thicket, I realized the shadows were creeping closer. Every step felt heavier, more deliberate, like something unseen was tracking my every move. Just when I thought I was getting nearer, the whisper transformed into something sharp, a cry that pierced the air. A child's voice, terrified and alone. "Help me!" it called, pulling me into an entirely different panic. I sprinted toward that sound, heart pounding, not knowing if I was running towards salvation or straight into a trap. Then I broke through the last line of trees and found myself in a clearing. It was bathed in moonlight, starkly contrasting the darkness I'd left. But that relief was short-lived. In the center, I saw her, a little girl, clutching a tattered teddy bear, her eyes wide with fear. But I wasn't alone. The shadows were there too, whispering fiercely, surrounding her. "Get back!" I shouted, raising my knife. The growling crescendoed, vibrating through the air like a warning siren. That's when I saw it. A dark shape emerged among the trees, looming behind her, and my heart dropped. This was worse than I had imagined. A new threat stood before me, and I realized that this fight was only just beginning. I took a step forward, brandishing my knife, but the shadows shifted, and I felt a chill creep up my spine. The figure behind the girl crawled closer, its form distorting in the dim light. I could hardly process if it was human or something more sinister. "Stay behind me!" I yelled, trying to sound braver than I felt. The girl's wide eyes seemed to pierce through the darkness, searching for reassurance. She clutched her teddy bear tighter, its fur matted and dirty, a sign of fear and confusion. The creature paused, its growl reverberating through the clearing, a guttural sound that sent tremors through the air. It was massive, towering over the girl, its eyes reflecting an eerie glint in the moonlight. I dared to inch closer, adrenaline pumping through my veins. "Who are you?" I demanded, hoping my voice would hold. Silence hung heavy, except for the occasional rustle of leaves. The creature tilted its head, studying me. I caught a glimpse of its sharp teeth, glistening like daggers. "Help!"
The girl's voice broke through my haze of fear, and before I knew it, I was rushing towards her, the knife still raised. I didn't know if I could fight this thing, but I couldn't leave her. Suddenly, without warning, the creature lunged forward. I lunged too, swiping my knife in its direction. The blade caught a piece of its dark, matted fur, and it recoiled with a horrible screech that pierced the night. "Run!" I shouted at the girl, each second stretching like an eternity. But she didn't move, still paralyzed by fear. I wanted to scream at her to go, to get to safety, but I couldn't risk taking my eyes off the creature. The growling transformed into frantic snarls as it charged at me again, and I sidestepped just in time. My heart raced, the shadows closing in only amplified the danger. Desperation turned into determination. "Come on," I urged the girl once more, scrambling backward to create space. My hand found the splintered wood in my pocket, and I pulled it out, hoping it would have some influence. "Stay close." The terrifying figure paused, a flash of confusion in its eyes as it regarded the talisman. I used the moment to dart towards the girl. Grabbing her hand, I tugged her toward the edge of the clearing. We moved as swiftly as we could, but it wasn't fast enough. The creature's claws, the size of my hand, swung down, just missing us. My breath hitched as we barely dodged its grasp. We were close to the trees, but I needed a plan. The shadows felt alive all around us, an oppressive force. I glanced back at the girl. She looked like she might finally start running. "Stick to me, just keep moving." And then everything changed. I spotted something glinting on the ground, half buried in the earth, not far from where the creature had landed. My heart raced. Could it be part of my answer? As the creature recovered, ire and rage burning in his eyes, I made a snap decision. "Wait here," I shouted, releasing her hand for just a second. I dove toward the glimmer, but before I could grasp it, the shadows descended. The growling returned, louder and more furious, echoing through the clearing. All I could think was that it was now or never. The girl couldn't stay behind. I grabbed the object, but as I turned back, I knew we were out of time. The thing was closing in, and I was about to find out if it was truly more than I could handle. I held my breath, clutching the glimmering object tightly, praying it was what I hoped. With one last surge of courage, I dashed back toward the girl. "We need to run," I shouted, pulling her along as adrenaline coursed through me. But the creature didn't wait. It lunged for us, claws ripping through the space we'd just occupied. I barely managed to pull the girl out of its reach just in time. We zigzagged through the trees, shadows clawing at our heels. My heart thumped in time with the rustling leaves, creating a sickening rhythm of fear. "Hold on to me," I urged, feeling her tremble beside me.
The weight of the darkness bathed the area, creating blurs of confusion with every glance. I clutched the object, a small, jagged splinter of wood, the weight of some dark significance settling into my chest. "Where do we go?" she whimpered, her eyes wide and reflective. As I scanned our surroundings, I noticed a narrow path cutting through the trees. I had no idea where it led, but it felt like our best bet. "Over here!" I yelled, guiding her toward the path. The growl of the creature echoed around us, furious and relentless, every instinct screaming for us to keep moving. As we sprinted down the narrow path, the darkness closed around us, twisting and writhing in a desperate attempt to ensnare us. I could hear whispers rising again, an eerie cacophony of desperate voices, begging, pleading. This time, I didn't know if it was the child's voice or many voices at once, but it fueled my legs to go faster. Then we broke through the trees. The path opened up into a clearing bathed in an inexplicable light. Standing there, I felt a difference. It was almost like being embraced. I blinked, confused. The light felt warm, anchoring me despite the chaos of the night behind me. "Is this safe?" the girl asked, eyes darting around. I think so," I stammered, glancing back. The creature wasn't far behind, shadowy shapes retreating, but now sensing the light. With a burst of instinct, I lifted the jagged piece of wood. As I grasped it, I felt the girl steady beside me. It gave me strength. If it's going to fight us, we have to stand our ground. The creature emerged, furious and dark, like a storm eclipsing the light. It let loose a terrifying roar, shaking the very ground beneath us. The shadows swirled, forming grotesque shapes as if pulling energy from the darkness surrounding it. "Remember," I said, my voice gaining strength. "You need to fight too." I could feel her hesitation, but I couldn't let fear consume us. "Focus. We have to find the core of its power." With that, I lunged forward, feeling that wood urge me on. Slicing through the air, I struck at the very pulse of darkness where the creature had retreated. The moment the jagged piece made contact with the thing's dark mantle, a blinding light shot from the wood, illuminating the clearing. It was as if the shadows were being ripped apart by sheer luminance, leaving only remnants of fear behind. There was a piercing wail from the creature, a sound that echoed through the trees before it shattered, something between a scream and a howl. "Now, move," I yelled, grabbing the girl's hand again. The light shifted, crackling with energy, pushing the dark creature back toward the depths from where it came. We raced past the cracks of light, urging ourselves toward freedom. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, we burst back into the safety of the trees leading to the edge of the woods. Gasping for air, I paused only long enough to confirm the creature wouldn't follow.
The realization set in. We were free. "Did we do it?" the girl asked, her innocence mingling with doubt. "I think we did." I trailed off, feeling the weight of everything settle around us. The shivers of dread still lingered, clinging to my skin, wrapping around me. But questions hung heavy in the air. What had we truly conjured? Were we safe? I looked at her, the bewildered child who had somehow crossed into the deepest parts of unsettling darkness. The glow of the moon cast auroras across her face, the one we had barely escaped. A distant whisper treaded on the breeze. "Help." And for the first time, the uncertainty struck me. Maybe the wood had just been a tool, or maybe it thrust us deeper into a tale that would never end. But in the shadows, a strange calm wrapped around us, sealing our fates to that dreadful yet freeing night. I took a breath, glancing back at the woods now lingering behind us, forever tainted by its mysteries. "I guess we should find our way back," I said finally, uncertainty haunting the words even as we tread into the night, wondering if we'd ever fully be free.